You are listening to the Cookbook Love Podcast with Maggie Green, episode number 390.
Welcome to the Cookbook Love Podcast, a podcast that celebrates cookbook readers, buyers, collectors, writers, and clubs. And now your host, cookbook author, culinary dietitian, and cookbook writing coach, Maggie Green.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Cookbook Love Podcast. How's everybody doing today? Hope you're all doing well. It is a Friday here as I record this show. Some quiet time here in my house. Going to have a short work day today. Have one of my sisters and her husband coming over, and we are headed out to a retirement party for my brother-in-law. So that should be a lot of fun this evening to get together with my family and enjoy time with them. And then tomorrow, I'm going to be heading out of town to celebrate my mother-in-law's birthday. That'll be good too. She lives nearby, but we're going to spend the day and evening with her and enjoy celebrating her birthday. So I hope you all are doing well. I am excited to be here. Gosh, when I said episode 390, I was like, wow, I'm almost at the 400th episode. That's an amazing thing. I have to remember sometimes to sit with something like that and look back at all that I have been able to accomplish, mostly because I have obviously listeners who listen to the show. And more, I am hearing from those of you who are using what is presented here on the show, not only interviews with cookbook authors, but things that I talk about related to cookbook writing. And you have used it to get your own proposal written, to pitch it to agents and publishers, and also have used it to self-publish your own cookbooks. So it's very exciting. There's something called, one of my coaches taught me, it's called the value bank. And when we have something like a podcast, we're putting value out into the world. We're making deposits in the value bank. And all of these many episodes have been deposits in the value bank. And this is also me building up a body of work, something that is present in the world out there to help people, connected to something obviously that I love, and also then something that I can live my life from, earn income from, writing cookbooks and teaching people how to write cookbooks and about the business of writing cookbooks. But this is what marketing means, is making deposits in a value bank. And you make these deposits in the value bank and they sit there and they grow interest, hopefully, and they grow over time and they build an asset for you. But sometimes the value doesn't come back right away. And I think that's the hardest part about getting a business started, or maybe starting to build your platform for a book that you're writing, is we get impatient because we want the results to come back to us faster. Like we're making deposits, we're putting things in the bank, and why can't we start getting a return on our deposits? But I want you to remember that regular deposits of valuable information put out into the world that help your people have a better life, learn something new, feel better, and ultimately have more joy, meaning, and purpose in their life is highly valuable. And it will come back to you in spades if you continue to show up and do the work of making deposits. And that's exactly what this podcast has been for me. In addition to that, I've learned a little bit about what I like, what I don't like. I've obviously interviewed a ton of amazing cookbook writers, PR specialists, agents. I've talked to people who've worked on cookbook projects. I have a request for maybe talking to some other people who have worked on cookbook projects behind the scenes, rather than just the author, but maybe some other people that do the work that's required to get a cookbook edited, designed, photographed, printed, and then distributed to the people that want to read it. So this has been a body of work that's obviously grown over time. I started the podcast in the fall of 2018, and here we are in the late winter of 2026, and I'm still continuing to put out shows every week. But I've learned a ton from it. I've met a lot of wonderful people, and I have continued to put the value out into the world, and it does come back to me. I do hear from people, and I do get clients, people who enroll in my programs from this podcast, and I'm thrilled to have this body of work out there. And I maybe have mentioned this before, but I've always loved radio. I've loved listening to radio. I love listening to podcasts. I like to have regular podcasts I listen to. I get to know the people who present the podcast, kind of a little bit about their life and what they're up to. And I think that that's a really fun thing about podcasts. So thank you all for being here as I have made this introduction and talked to you about the concept of a value bank. Thank you, one of my past business coaches, for teaching me that and giving me the continual inspiration to continue to keep going, keep making deposits in the bank. And it's wonderful to see how it comes back to me. Okay, so I want to talk today about cookbook writers, aspiring cookbook authors, and the path to get your cookbook published. There are three main paths: traditional publishing, self-publishing, and then hybrid or custom publishing. And this podcast today is specifically about traditional publishing. And when we set out to write our first book, or we think, gee, I maybe want to write a cookbook, a lot of times what we think is that we need to write the book and then find an agent and then try to get a book deal. And that all sounds really logical, but it's also the reason that so many talented, aspiring cooks and bakers and dietitians and chefs and passionate home cooks stay stuck for years because they're spending all their time really, quite frankly, guessing about writing the book and then trying to find an agent and then trying to get a book deal. And in traditional publishing, I just want you to know you don't get paid because you wrote the book. You'll get paid in advance because you sold yourself and your concept to a publisher. So in this episode, that's exactly what I want to talk about. I want to show you how cookbook authors actually get paid before they write, and why the write the book first path usually keeps us guessing and stalling and stuck, because it just doesn't work very well if you want to try to find a traditional publisher. So if you've ever thought you just need to finish the book first, you'll worry about pitching later, maybe I'll just put my book on Amazon, this episode is going to give you a much clearer way to think about that path. And as a quick note before we dive in, I do have a free training called Get Paid to Write a Cookbook. Part one of the masterclass is available and live now. This is called Stop Guessing and Get Paid to Write. So if you want to sign up for this masterclass, head on over to www.cookbookwritersacademy.com/getpaidmasterclass. You can register for the class. Part one, again, is live and ready to go, and I would love to have you join us. Okay, so I want to tell you about something that I see relatively frequently, and I've actually had people come into my programs and they have already had a book, or they come to me and they ask almost like word for word, I've already written my recipes, or I've already self-published a book, and now I want a publisher to publish the book just as it is. They want it to be picked up by a traditional publisher. And I get it. That's what we've all been taught, right? Finish the book and then try to sell it. And this is exactly what people who write fiction novels do. They finish the book and then they sell it. They're selling the story. And so they've got to write the story and sell the story. But to be clear, writing a cookbook manuscript, while it is a huge accomplishment, it does take time, it takes effort, it takes testing, it takes a lot of our heart. I never want to take that away from anybody. But here is where this writing the cookbook first gets a little bit painful. When someone comes to me with a full manuscript, an as-is product, and we open it up and we look at it, and it's hundreds of pages of recipes outlined and all that kind of stuff. It's a beautiful manuscript. I sometimes have to ask a few basic questions that I know an agent or editor are going to want answered before they publish that book. For example, who is the book for? What is the promise, or what is the position of the book? What's going to change for the reader when they use the book? What makes it different from books that are already out there? Where does it fit in the marketplace? And why does this book deserve a slot on their list right now? And why were they the perfect person to write this book? So those are the kinds of questions I start to ask people. And that's when they start to feel very uncertain about their book, because if those answers aren't clear, the pitch that we need to make to a publisher becomes very foggy or fuzzy. And then what happens? When we feel foggy, when we feel fuzzy, when things aren't clear, we slow down, we stop, we stall, we start guessing again. They always say a confused customer never buys because they're confused. They don't know what the product is. So it's true for publishing too. A confused agent or publisher will never buy. So the way we know that an agent or editor might be confused about what we want to pitch to them is if we're confused. If we don't know the answers to the questions that I just asked. If we're not crystal clear on all the things that we need to know about the book, not just about the content of the book. So what happens then is the people that I work with, they'll start guessing at the positioning. They're going to try to back into the hook of the book, try to back into a title, what to include in a proposal, which agents to contact, how to sound professional. And it's almost like they're backing into that rather than doing that part first and writing the book second. And this is what I call backtracking. It's like taking something that's finished and almost trying to unwind it. It's like pulling a string on a sweater or something like that, and it just like unwinds the whole thing. You end up reshaping what you wrote to match a concept you didn't define at the very beginning. And this, instead of moving forward with confidence, you're revising and reworking and second guessing and burning time. And that is why the write it first approach to getting a cookbook published is a trap. Not because writing the manuscript is bad, but because it encourages guessing about everything that actually gets the book deal. Rather than planning it out very clearly first, getting the deal, and then writing the book, we're going in reverse. So I think what I want to leave you with today is that finishing the cookbook manuscript is not step one. In traditional publishing, for nonfiction books, and that includes cookbooks, you sell the book before you write the book. That's how you get paid in advance. A publisher isn't just buying a bunch of recipes. They're buying a concept they can understand. They're buying a position that they can sell. They're buying you as the author of the book and as a person who can reach readers and create book sales once the book is published. And when you approach it that way, you stop guessing and you start building something that I like to call the deal-ready package. Okay, so I'm going to give you 3 big things to think about. I'm not going to go super deep in this episode because this is what I cover in the free training, but I want you to see what actually matters if you want to get paid in advance to write a cookbook for a traditional publisher. Number 1 is clarity about your concept. This means you can say in one sentence who the book is for, what it helps them do, and what makes it different. That sentence becomes the backbone of your entire pitch to a publisher. Clarity replaces guessing. Number 2, you need to have a pitch package ready. This is when you stop trying to sound like someone with a dream and you really get serious about wanting to sound like an aspiring cookbook author who wants and has a book deal. The difference is, here's my book idea versus here's why this book is a book that I think a publisher will confidently want to acquire and I can write for them. And then the third thing is you follow a path. Pitching isn't just sending emails randomly to publishers. You know who you're sending it to. You know why you're a fit. You know how to submit in a way that makes it an easy yes from the publisher. And when all three of those things are in place, we're not guessing any longer. We're following a path. So that's why I created my free masterclass, Get Paid to Write a Cookbook, and why I created a video one, which is called Stop Guessing, Get Paid to Write. And like I mentioned, it is live now. I lay everything out in what I call the paid first path, a step-by-step method, so you can see exactly how traditional advances happen for cookbook writers before you write the book. And it works. My office is filled with cookbooks from people who have traditional publishing contracts. So if you've been stuck in this thought of maybe someday I'll write a book, or maybe I'll just finish it first and then pitch it, I really hope that you will see that there's a much clearer plan that you can follow. And if you are interested, again, you can go to get instant access to video one of the training at www.cookbookwritersaacademy.com/getpaidmasterclass. The link is below in the show notes. So if you've already started writing, maybe take a pause, come join us in the masterclass, and I'm going to show you how to really stop guessing what to do and start positioning yourself and your book so that you can sell it to an agent or a publisher. So that is it for today's episode of the Cookbook Love Podcast. This is your host, Maggie Green. And until next time, have a great day and keep loving your cookbooks.
Thanks for listening to the Cookbook Love Podcast. You can find out more information at www.cookbooklove.co.